Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. As you might already know, the meta for warrior in War vs World is the Berserker, playing mostly Longbow and Greatsword, but with the current meta the Longbow became a bit obsolete because everyone can out-heal you your damage basically from your fields from the F1 from the Longbow. So your only damage is mostly your F1 from the Greatsword, which is a huge burst skill which helps a lot to deal damage to enemies and make downies. So the Longbow needs now to get a replacement, and in my opinion you can go with hammer or maybe double axe. In this video in particular I will cover the axe variant, which is very strong to play. It's full melee and feels kinda rewarding to play, and you play like a barbarian. The build is pretty standard, it's almost the same as the other build when you play Longbow, but this time we run Axe Mastery instead of Burst Mastery. We will lose a bit of damage on the F1 from the Greatsword and also some adrenaline, but we will have a lot of more adrenaline with this trait, which grants us adrenaline whenever we do critical hits with axe. And also we get additional ferocity when we play axes, and also when we have no axe we get 120 ferocity, which is nice, so the damage is kinda the same now. And also you have recharge reduced by 20% on any axe skills, which is huge. So let's get into the build. We have here our damage, our dodges will do damage, and it's also an unblockable damage. This only works in combat, and also we get a bunch of might by the dodges. Here we get a 3% damage increase for free. Then we have some endurance gain from burst skills. Here we get Forceful Greatsword, we get additional power and also some might when we do critical hits, and we will do only critical hits. And also these bonuses are doubled while we are using a Greatsword, so it's very nice trait to have. Here we have a 5% critical chance increase, and also might grants us more power. We get 40 power instead of 30. And then here we get 21% more damage every 4 adrenaline stage spent. So whenever you use your burst skill you will get 2 bars of these, and when you have 4 of these you get 21% damage to any damage, both from your burst skill and non-burst skills. On Discipline we get gain adrenaline on weapon swap. This is very needed to cast our burst skills on the Greatsword. Warrior's Sprint, 3% more damage and also 25% more movement speed, and we also have remove immobilize when we use our skill 5 and our skill 3 from the Greatsword, which are movement skills. Here we have 5 seconds on the weapon swaps instead of 9 seconds, which is huge, and it's what makes this build very strong, and it feels very frenetic to play, and you will feel like a spinning whirling axe, and then you swap to Greatsword, you press your F1s, you will feel like a tank. Then Destruction of the Empowerment, 3% damage increase per boon on our target, and every target will have like 10 boons with the current meta, so this is a huge trait. Here we have might on weapon swap, and also our burst skills will get reduced recharge. And then here we get the Axe Mastery, which I already explained. Then on Berserker we have Smash Brawler, duration increase of the Berserker mod by 1 second, and also we have a 5% critical chance increase whenever we enter Berserker for the whole duration of the Berserker mod. Then here we get some quickness and super speed when we enter Berserker mod. Here some additional free ferocity based on a percentage of precision. Here 150 free power when we are in Berserk mode. And then Bloody Roar is resistance when we enter Berserk mode, and also 10% more damage while in Berserk mode. The gears are just a mix of Marauder and maybe Dragon and maybe Berserker. Just adjust your precision to reach this critical chance. You need 75 because with the Fury you get plus 20, so 95. And then since all our damage is done in Berserk mode, I also count this 5% critical chance increase from this trait, so we reach 100. The rune is the Superior Rune of the Scholar, which is the best option for the DPS builds. On the Greysword we get Superior Sigil of Force and Superior Sigil of Hydromancy, which deals like 1k damage around us whenever we swap to Greysword, so it really helps to generate more burst, since the Greysword only relies on the skill F1 to do damage. So you can swap to Greysword during the fight. The Superior Sigil of Hydromancy will proc, it's like 1k damage, maybe even more, and then you F1, skill 6, F1 again, so you will deal like a huge burst, which really helps generating downies. At this point, when you are done with your Greysword, you will swap to the set of axes, and we will have Superior Sigil of Force and Superior Sigil of Bloodlust. It's a stacking sigil, so it's really needed, because the bonuses are very good if you manage to stack them and not die all the time, so you don't lose them. Once you swap to axe, you will generally press your skill 4, which is a nice damage dealer. It's a bit slow, but still it will grant you some quickness for every enemy you will hit, and then you will spend that quickness to use your skill 5 with the quickness, which makes it really faster by 50%, and it's really needed in a fight, because this skill can be cancelled at any time, because it's a channeled skill, and you want to make sure you will hit this, because it's a lot of damage, it's a lot of cleave, especially on downed enemies. So ideally you generate downies with your F1 on the Greysword, then you swap on the axe and you cleave downies with your skill 5 and skill 4. Then the trinkets are like a mix of Marauder and Dragon and maybe some Berserker. Just adjust your critical chance to be 75. Then we have Relic of Speed, because we need to catch up on our enemies. They cannot be faster than us, we need to be as fast as them and maybe even more, so we don't miss our F1s and our skill 5 on the axe. You will be whirling a lot during the fights, and the enemies cannot run from this. You need to be on them and deal damage constantly. They will run, you will still spin, you will do damage while they run, and they will die. The healing skill is Blood Reckoning. It will heal yourself and also grant you a buff for 5 seconds, during which you will get healed for the 33% of the damage you deal, and also it will increase your berserk mode duration by 1 second, and also it will recharge every burst skill and grant you full adrenaline, meaning that you should abuse this skill after you use your F1 on the Greysword. You F1, you Blood Reckoning, the F1 is ready again immediately, and you press it again. This way you will manage to unleash a very huge amount of damage, and I will show you in a bit in the commentary. Then Signet of Fury, this is used in a fight to fully recharge your adrenaline. You press it, you get full adrenaline. You need to be in combat, otherwise the adrenaline will deplete quickly, so just make sure you are in combat. You can also hit like a door, a guard, an enemy flame ram or whatever. Then we have the Signet of Might. It grants us power, and also whenever we press it we get 10 stacks of might and 10 stacks of unblockable. You should be using these unblockable stacks for your arc dividers while you are in berserker mode. I will show you in a bit in the commentary, of course. So you will deal a lot of damage, and that damage cannot be blocked. The only downside of the F1 is, so if you make unblockable, it can only be blinded by the enemies, but you can bypass this thingy by using Berserker Stance, which will grant you pulsing resistance, and resistance makes you immune to blindness. So I would recommend using your Signet of Might to generate your stacks of unblockable, then you go Berserker Stance. So you get also the resistance, and your F1 are sure to land on the enemies unless they are dodging, because the F1 will be unblockable and you will have permanent resistance on you, and so you will hit the enemies for a lot of damage for sure. The elite skill is the Battle Standard, which is this huge AoE. It will deal a lot of damage when it lands. Still, you shouldn't be using it for the damage, but because of the revive or for the stomps. So this banner can both stomp or revive the allies. Stomp the enemies, revive the allies, of course. This is a good fight to show you how it's done and what you should be pressing and what the priority on the buttons on your keyboard should be. So here we are about to engage the enemies. You see I'm out of combat at this moment, so I decided to throw my greatsword skill 4 to this guy. So I enter the combat, and I'm sure that if I press my Signet of Fury, I will not lose my adrenaline immediately. So I will go full adrenaline and it will not be lost. Then I immediately use the Signet of Fury. I am full adrenaline, I am ready to enter Berserk mode. We are about to clash here. Then I immediately press my Berserk stance. You see the resistance starts pulsing, and also probably I got some resistance from my party or from the squad. Then you immediately press your Signet of Might, so your next 10 hits will be unblockable. And then I enter Berserk mode. I have 10 stacks of unblockable. I cast my first F1 from the Greatsword. It's the Arc Divider, you see. On this guy I hit for 10k and a half, which is huge. And this way I expanded 5 stacks, of the unblockable. I still have 5 stacks. I immediately cast Blood Reckoning, which is my healing skill, So I will recharge the cooldown and also the adrenaline for the next F1. And then the next F1 is landed on these guys. I missed some guys, probably. I still hit 2 guys and one of them for 10k again. So I managed to deal like 20k to the same guy, probably. I don't know if it's the same guy. Let's see it again. F1, no, probably not, but still it's very decent to deal. Then at this point you should swap to Axe because your Greatsword has nothing useful and you will have also low adrenaline. You swap to Axe, immediately you can go skill 5 from the Axe, so you start whirling around and doing a lot of damage to the enemies. Otherwise, if you see the enemies are not close to you, you could also go for the skill 4, which is used to do some damage and also to get some quickness. And also your skill 5 should be used only when you are surrounded by enemies. In this case I am surrounded by enemies, so I choose to skip the skill 4 and just go for the skill 5, which is the maximum damage option. You see a lot of damage. Then I go back a bit to my allies because I was in a bad spot. Let's see it again. And then at this point I cast my War Banner because I see many downies. You see this icon here. Finish them. If you see that, it means that you have down enemies ready to be stomped by your banner. And so I cast my banner while moving around. You see, with the free camera option you can still move while casting the banner behind. The banner is set. I don't know if I stomped enemies, probably not, I think. Maybe they were transfused or they died before the banner landed. At this point I have my axe skills to use. Skill 4, which deals a decent amount of damage, and also the skill 2, which grants a decent amount of fury to yourself. Then I immediately swap back to Greatsword, because on axe I was done. Skill F1 on the Greatsword. The Berserk mode is almost running out. F1 again, before the Berserk mode runs out. I didn't hit any enemy, but still, it's okay, I guess. Then here, the fight is on a bit of a range situation at this moment. And this class is kinda useless when you are ranging, but don't worry, because the most of the fight happens in melee with the current meta, so you will be very strong. If you don't like double axe, you could go also hammer. I think it's a very strong option and it also can deal some CCs. But still, I like the idea of axe more because it's really a lot of damage everywhere. At this point, I'm still in combat. I'm on my axe. I swap to Greatsword to get some adrenaline from the minor trait. At this point I use my Signet of Fury. It was not needed, but using the Signet of Fury also gives you some boost to your ferocity and to your precision, so it's a more damage to your next like 4 seconds skills from your F1s or skill 5 from the axe. And then I enter Berserk mode. You see, I can hit around the wall with the F1, because the F1 has a huge radius around me and you can hit even beyond the line of sight. Then I press my Berserk mode and my Berserk stance, and my Signet of Might, so I'm sure I will not miss my F1s. F1 on these guys. One guy had endure pain or whatever it was, then the other two guys were hit by 4-6k each. Immediately blood reckoning, so you will recharge your F1 and full again the adrenaline. Arc divider is ready again, I'm landing it. 11k on this guy, is almost dead. I immediately swap to axe. What I would recommend is when you swap to axe, if you are surrounded by enemies, just go for the skill 5 because you need to hurry. Otherwise the enemies might die or might kill you or might escape or whatever. In this case I didn't have quickness in my boon bar, so it would have been recommended to use my skill 4 from the axe, which gives me quickness for every enemy I will hit from maximum of 3 enemies, so it will be like 3 seconds of quickness. Otherwise, maybe I did a mistake, but I wanted to cliff down the enemies. There was this guy, which was very low by the arc dividers I just landed for 11k, so I wanted to down it. So, skill 5. Okay, everybody is dead, basically. Skill 4, you swap. Okay, sorry, let me go back a bit. Skill 5, at this point your first priority should be your skill 2 and skill 4, but first your skill 4, you see I got some quickness, then the skill 2, which also grants me some fury, then I am on cooldown on the weapon swap. I cast my F1 from the axe. You shouldn't be doing this, it's only one target, even if it's a huge damage dealer, it's just one target, so you should save that adrenaline for the greatsword. Then I swap to greatsword. I immediately have my full adrenaline, because I have the superior sigil of hydromancy, which is an AoE hit, and every hit of course will generate adrenaline on me, and also I have the adrenaline on weapon swap trait from the discipline trait line. F1 again, I cliff down the enemies, skill 3 to dodge around and do some damage. F1 again, I was blind, I did not have my berserker stance, so I missed that. Unfortunate. Okay guys, this was all for today's video. Let me know in the comments if you try out this build. I think it's very fun and very strong, and it's kinda hard to deal with because you are so tanky thanks to the blood reckoning, making your damage heal you, and also the F1 are huge burst skills and you will deal a lot of damage, and as you could see, like 11 or 12k on enemies, and then you finish them off with your axe skills. Also, this class is naturally tanky because the warrior has a lot of HP, and so it's hard to kill. It also has some evades, some mobility from the skill 3 and the skill 5 on the greatsword. Thank you for watching and see you on to the next video. Bye!